Hey everyone, and a massive, warm welcome back to the channel. Seriously, it's fantastic to have you here. Before we dive into the incredible world of the ancient Greeks, I want to take a quick second to genuinely wish you all the very best. I hope you're feeling healthy, energized, and ready for a truly mind-blowing journey today. Take care of yourselves out there. Look around you right now. The building you're in, the way your government works, or maybe doesn't work. That movie you loved last summer. The very way you think about the world, about right and wrong, about what makes a good life. Chances are, the invisible fingerprints of a civilization that peaked over 2,000 years ago are all over it. We're not talking about dusty old ruins in a museum, though those are cool too. We're talking about ideas, inventions, and stories so powerful, so brilliantly crafted, that they never really went away. They became the bedrock, the very operating system, for huge chunks of our modern world. That is the astonishing, living legacy of the ancient Greeks. Get ready, because this isn't just history, this is understanding where we came from. Imagine stepping onto a small, rocky peninsula and hundreds of islands scattered across the brilliant blue Mediterranean Sea, about 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. This wasn't one big unified country like we think of nations today. It was a collection of fiercely independent city-states, places like Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes, each with its own personality, its own government, its own way of doing things. They shared a common language and worshipped similar gods, but they were often rivals, sometimes even bitter enemies. Out of this vibrant, competitive, sometimes chaotic environment, exploded an incredible burst of human creativity and thinking that changed the course of history forever. It's like the whole region was a giant pressure cooker for genius. Let's start with something absolutely fundamental: how we govern ourselves. The word democracy itself comes straight from the Greeks, demos meaning people, and kratos meaning power or rule. Power of the people. Now, the democracy they practiced in Athens, the most famous example, was very different from what most of us experience today. It was direct democracy. That means eligible citizens, adult males born in Athens, not women, slaves, or foreigners, so a limited group, gathered regularly in a huge open-air assembly on a hill called the Nix. There, they debated laws, voted on major decisions like going to war or building ships, and even elected officials or decided court cases directly, sometimes by a show of hands or dropping pebbles into urns. Imagine thousands of citizens arguing passionately under the open sky about taxes, foreign policy, or whether to banish someone. It was messy, loud, and imperfect, but the revolutionary idea was born right there. That ordinary citizens, well, some of them, could and should have a direct say in how they are ruled, that the state belongs to its people, not just a king or a small elite. This idea, that the people hold ultimate power, is the seed from which modern representative democracies, republics, and our whole concept of citizenship, civic duty, and political debate grew. When we argue about voting rights, freedom of speech, or the role of government, we're walking paths first laid down in the Athenian agora. Then there's the whole way we try to understand the universe and our place in it. Before the Greeks, in places like Ionia, the western coast of modern Turkey, and later Athens, many explanations for natural phenomena, why the sun moves, what lightning is, why people get sick, were based on myths, gods, and supernatural forces. The Greeks started something radically new, philosophy, which literally means love of wisdom. They began asking fundamental questions based on observation and reason, not just tradition or religion. Thinkers like Thales wondered what the fundamental substance of everything was. He guessed water. Heraclitus famously said you can't step into the same river twice, pointing out constant change. Democritus proposed the idea of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms, incredibly close to our modern concept. Then came the giants, Socrates. He wandered the streets of Athens asking relentless, uncomfortable questions to expose people's lack of true understanding. What is justice? What is courage? He didn't write anything down, but his method of questioning, the Socratic method, is still the foundation of critical thinking and legal education today. His student, Plato, founded the Academy, one of the first institutions of higher learning, and wrote profound dialogues exploring ideas about reality, knowledge, ethics, and the perfect state. Plato's student, Aristotle, was arguably the ultimate all-rounder. He studied and wrote about everything: logic, inventing formal logic, biology, classifying animals, physics, though his ideas were later proven wrong, ethics, what is the good life, politics, analyzing different constitutions, poetry, and rhetoric, the art of persuasion. Aristotle's emphasis on observation, classification, and logical reasoning laid the groundwork for the scientific method centuries later. He taught Alexander the Great, who then spread Greek ideas far and wide. This shift from myth to reason, this relentless pursuit of knowledge and understanding through logic and observation, is arguably the Greeks' most profound gift. It established the framework for all Western science, philosophy, and critical thought. The Greeks didn't just think deeply, they expressed their understanding of the world and the human condition with breathtaking beauty and power. This is their art and architecture, and its influence is literally everywhere you look. Forget the stiff, formal statues of earlier civilizations. Greek sculptors, especially during the classical period, around 500 to 300 BC, aimed for perfection in portraying the human body, but a perfected, idealized form. They studied anatomy, mastered balance, contrapposto, where the body's weight rests naturally on one leg, and captured movement and emotion with astonishing realism and grace. Think of the serene power of the Parthenon sculptures or the perfect proportions of statues like the Discobolus, the discus thrower. This celebration of the idealized human form became the gold standard for European art for millennia, revived powerfully in the Renaissance and echoed even in modern design. Then there are the buildings. Look at any important government building, museum, bank, or university in Europe or the Americas, chances are you'll see columns. Those columns are straight out of the Greek architectural handbook. They developed three main orders or styles: the sturdy, simple Doric, like the Parthenon, the more elegant Ionic, with its scroll-like capitals, and the ornate Corinthian, topped with acanthus leaves. These weren't just pretty decorations, they were part of a sophisticated system of proportion and balance designed to create buildings that were harmonious, imposing, and beautiful. The Parthenon in Athens, a temple to Athena, is the ultimate symbol of this. Its seemingly straight lines actually curve subtly to create an optical illusion of perfect harmony. The Greeks understood the power of mathematics in beauty. This architectural language, this vocabulary of columns, pediments, and friezes, became the defining style for expressing grandeur, democracy, and learning throughout Western history. How do we tell stories, explore deep emotions, or laugh at the absurdity of life? The Greeks pretty much invented the main ways we still do it today: drama. They created both tragedy and comedy as formal art forms performed in huge open-air theaters. Tragedians like Aeschylus, the father of tragedy, Sophocles, author of Oedipus Rex and Antigone, and Euripides wrote plays exploring the biggest, darkest human themes: fate versus free will, the wrath of the gods, pride, hubris, justice, family conflict, and the suffering that often comes from noble ideals. These weren't just entertainment, they were communal experiences that forced audiences to confront profound moral questions and the depths of human emotion. They used powerful myths, but made them resonate with timeless human struggles. Then there was comedy. Playwrights like Aristophanes wrote hilarious, often bitingly satirical plays that mocked politicians, philosophers, social trends, and even the gods. They used slapstick, absurdity, and sharp wit to hold a mirror up to society, pointing out its flaws and hypocrisies. The basic structures, character types, the hero, the villain, the fool, and dramatic techniques developed by the Greeks are still the building blocks of every play, movie, and TV show we watch. The very concept of actors performing a scripted story for an audience started right there in the theater of Dionysus in Athens. And what about the stories themselves? Greek mythology is not just a collection of quirky tales about Zeus throwing lightning bolts or Hercules doing labors. It's a vast, complex system of stories that explained the world, the seasons, natural phenomena, explored human nature, love, jealousy, ambition, courage, and established cultural values. The gods on Mount Olympus were powerful but flawed, incredibly human in their emotions and actions. Heroes like Achilles, Odysseus, Perseus, and Jason faced incredible challenges, grappled with moral dilemmas, and displayed both glorious virtues and tragic flaws. These myths, passed down orally for generations before being written down by poets like Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and Hesiod, provided a shared cultural language. They explored what it meant to be human, the consequences of choices, the power of fate, and the importance of virtues like courage, wisdom, hospitality, and justice. These stories have been retold, adapted, and reinterpreted endlessly for over 2 millennia. They fuel Hollywood blockbusters, inspire novels and video games, and provide names for planets and space missions. They tap into fundamental human archetypes and experiences that remain powerfully relevant. The Greek mind wasn't just about philosophy and art, it was relentlessly practical and curious about how things work, the roots of science and mathematics. While they built on knowledge from older civilizations like Egypt and Mesopotamia, the Greeks took it to a whole new level by applying reason and systematic inquiry. Pythagoras wasn't just about triangles, his theorem was part of a mystical and mathematical view of the universe. He saw numbers as fundamental to reality. Euclid compiled and systematized geometry into his book Elements, which became the standard textbook for over 2,000 years, the foundation of architectural and engineering design. Archimedes was a true engineering genius. He discovered principles of buoyancy, the famous Eureka story, levers, give me a place to stand, and I shall move the earth, invented ingenious war machines, and came close to inventing calculus. Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, revolutionized the field. He moved it away from superstition and magic, emphasizing careful observation of patients, recording symptoms, and seeking natural causes for disease. The Hippocratic Oath, sworn by doctors for centuries, embodies his ethical principles. Aristarchus proposed a heliocentric model, the sun at the center of the solar system, centuries before Copernicus. Eratosthenes calculated the Earth's circumference with remarkable accuracy using geometry and observations of shadows. They established the idea that the universe operates according to understandable, mathematical laws, a principle absolutely essential for the later scientific revolution. The Greek legacy wasn't frozen in time after their classical peak. The conquests of Alexander the Great, tutored by Aristotle himself, in the 4th century BC exploded the Greek world far beyond the Aegean. From Egypt through the Middle East and all the way to the borders of India, Alexander founded cities, many named Alexandria, the most famous in Egypt. Spreading Greek culture, language, Koine Greek became a common tongue, art, architecture, and ideas. This Hellenistic, Greek-like, period created a vast, interconnected world where Greek thought mingled with Egyptian, Persian, and Indian influences. The Great Library of Alexandria became the ultimate center of learning in the ancient world. While the political power of Greece itself waned, its cultural influence became even more widespread. Then came the Romans. As Rome conquered the Mediterranean world, including Greece, they were absolutely captivated by Greek culture. Roman elites spoke Greek, hired Greek tutors for their children, copied Greek art, often with less subtlety, adopted Greek gods, giving them Roman names like Jupiter for Zeus, Venus for Aphrodite, built their temples and public buildings in Greek styles, and absorbed Greek philosophy, literature, and scientific ideas. Roman writers like Virgil, Ovid, and Horace were deeply inspired by Greek predecessors. The Romans were the practical engineers and empire builders. The Greeks were the intellectual and artistic masters they admired and emulated. Through the vast Roman Empire, Greek ideas were disseminated even more widely across Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. When the Western Roman Empire fell, much of this knowledge was preserved in the Byzantine Empire. The Greek-speaking Eastern Roman Empire centered on Constantinople, and later by Islamic scholars, who translated and expanded upon Greek texts in fields like philosophy, medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. Centuries later, during the Renaissance in Europe, starting around the 14th century, there was a massive rebirth of interest in classical antiquity, primarily Greek and Roman culture. Scholars rediscovered long-lost Greek texts, often preserved by Byzantine and Islamic scholars. Artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci studied Greek ideals of beauty and proportion in their sculptures and paintings. Architects like Brunelleschi looked directly to Roman ruins, which were heavily influenced by Greece, for inspiration, reviving classical columns, domes, and harmonious designs. Thinkers began questioning medieval scholasticism, turning back to the human-centered philosophy, emphasis on reason, and original texts of Plato and others. This became known as humanism. The Renaissance rediscovery of Greek thought was rocket fuel for the explosion of art, science, and exploration that shaped the modern world. It challenged old authorities and emphasized the potential of human reason and creativity, directly paving the way for the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution. The legacy isn't just in grand concepts, it's woven into the very fabric of our daily lives and language. Think about the Olympic Games, revived in 1896, a direct homage to the ancient Greek festival at Olympia celebrating athletic prowess and peaceful competition. Our alphabet. The Romans gave us the letters, but they adapted them from the Greek alphabet, which itself came from the Phoenicians. Huge chunks of English vocabulary, especially sophisticated and technical words, come directly from Greek roots: democracy, philosophy, theater, psychology, biology, telephone, astronaut, chaos, cosmos, chronology. The list is almost endless. The way we categorize knowledge into distinct fields like history, biology, physics, and astronomy stems from Greek approaches. Even the way we analyze stories, looking for plot, character, and theme, has roots in Aristotle's Poetics. So, what is the legacy of the ancient Greeks? It's not just marble statues or crumbling temples, though those are powerful reminders. It's something far more profound and enduring. It's the foundational ideas that continue to shape our world, the revolutionary concept that people can govern themselves, the relentless pursuit of truth and understanding through reason and observation, the celebration of human potential and the beauty of the natural world expressed in timeless art and architecture, the powerful stories that explore the depths of the human heart, the systematic investigation of the universe that launched science, the very language we use to describe complex ideas. They ask the fundamental questions about life, the universe, justice, beauty, and knowledge that we are still grappling with today. They provided models, methods, and inspiration that have been built upon, debated, and adapted for over 2 millennia. They laid the intellectual and cultural cornerstone for what we call Western civilization, but their influence, carried by conquest, trade, and the power of their ideas, has truly become global. Their legacy isn't locked in the past, it's alive in our governments, our universities, our theaters, our laboratories, our art museums, and even in the words we speak. It's the ongoing conversation about what it means to be human, a conversation the Greeks started with such brilliance that we've never stopped listening and responding. Thanks so much for joining me on this epic journey through time. The story of the Greeks reminds us that ideas born centuries ago, in small city-states on a rocky peninsula, can echo with incredible power through the ages. If you enjoyed this dive into history, give the video a thumbs up, it really helps the channel. Share your thoughts on the Greek legacy down in the comments. What aspect blows your mind the most? Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. Until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and keep exploring.